What's up, guys? Welcome to Knockers on the Bottom. I'm your host, Jay Mill. Jay Miller, if you like. So let's get into it. So this week, I'm super happy. NFL Combine Week. Some of the Cowboys guys are already there. Today, I believe they get in and they kind of just do a brief health check to just kind of check out their medicals, make sure they're all clear, good to go. They do like a little welcome ceremony, kind of give everybody the overview of the schedule and how things are going to go. And they bring them in waves, right? So, they bring in, I believe it's like D linemen and, offensive linemen in, and then, they get those guys rolling. Then the next day, they, bring in some quarterbacks and, things like that, then some corners and receivers, running backs. And so by the time you get to the end of the week, you have all your guys there and they're doing drills. I believe they start with the large guys first and then with the little guys last. So on the last day, you'll get the receivers and the running backs and the defensive backs and the safeties kind of doing their thing. And in the beginning, you'll get your offensive linemen and defensive linemen, and then you'll get some of your guys in the middle, your quarterbacks, your kickers, all that good stuff. So it'll be nice to start to get some news here at the Scotland Combine. You also get a lot of free agency talk. I know Stephen Jones has already kind of mentioned he wants to be selectively aggressive with this free agency class. Not quite sure what that means, but I guess we'll just play the wait and see game for the Cowboys. I know they've been in some talks with Osa Odighizuwa here, trying to talk to him about his contract. Micah wants to get his contract done, so if it were me, I'd be talking to Micah, trying to see, what we can do, how we can get that going. But yeah, so that'll be nice. And so as the week goes along, we'll get a little bit more in depth and kind of see how some of these guys test and get some news as to who's moving up boards, who's moving down boards. One of the things I'm sad about, and this will kind of transition into what I really want to talk about today. I'm kind of sad that Ashton Genty is not participating in the combine. So one of the things, right, I went through this week and I kind of made sure to watch the top running backs, how we did our receivers last week, and we talked about, LB3, and we talked about Tet McMillan. So this week I went through it, and I had already watched Ashton Genty, but I went through and watched Caleb Johnson out of Iowa, and I went through and watched Hampton over out of North Carolina, and I came away impressed, of course, with Genty. Of course, I'll start there. I do think that Genty's speed is a little bit better than what I initially thought. Like watching him the first time, I thought maybe he might be, maybe like a 4 or 5 guy somewhere in there. But now after watching this tape again, he looks a little more like a 4-4 guy to me. But we'll never know because he's not going to run. Caleb Johnson, I actually like Hampton a little bit more than I like Johnson. I do like Johnson. He's a very odd looking runner. When he's running in the open field or even going through the hole, he seems almost a little top heavy. Like it's almost like he's running with his shoulders forward, and very upright. Right, he's not a low to the ground runner, but his footwork is very nice. Getting to and through the hole, he's able to make some nice moves with his feet and able to use his footwork to carve a path of least resistance. That's the best way I can describe it, because you don't see much change in his hips and you don't see much change in his shoulders, but you do see his footwork is very fluid and it doesn't seem to really slow down. So once he gets going, he does make his change of direction, but he uses his feet and his lower body to make that change of direction more so than using his whole body. You'll see a lot of running backs and a lot of players in general, use their shoulders and their head and their hips to kind of juke a guy and keep it going. That's not the way this guy plays. So I think that can be beneficial because the more you can make things look the same, but then throw different things at people out of that look, the better you're going to be as far as being able to break away. It's a different level of deception, right? As opposed to Hampton. Hampton gives me more of that, dramatic leg movement, right? He gives me, I don't know if you ever seen the Tony Pollard drop foot move where, he's coming through and he busts through the line and he gives that little drop foot like he's going to continue to the outside and then immediately cuts to the inside. And he always seems to make a player miss doing that. I saw that in Hampton's arsenal. He also gives me a little bit of that Saquon Barkley, like jump cut, change of direction, very quick movements. Like he's a joystick. He's a little bit different than what I saw with Caleb Johnson. And of course, Ashton Genty is some of those same things, but also kind of just raw power, right? He's like a bowling ball. So very low center of gravity, which is why I think Ashton breaks so many tackles, is because when players go to hit him, they generally end up hitting him high because of his low center of gravity, and he's not an upright runner in the same way that you get with Caleb Johnson. He's more playing under control with his body balance and making himself small to and through the hole. And then once he is there, he has some serious power to continue to drive. And if you don't wrap up, he's not going to go down. He has game breaker ability, but again, in a completely different way than the other two. I think Caleb uses smooth footwork. I think Hampton uses quick change of direction, jump cuts, juke moves, all of that. And I think Ashton uses raw power, great balance, and low center of gravity. So to me, those are your three top running backs. And honestly, I think if I had to stack them, I would go Genty, Hampton, then Caleb Johnson. The problem is I think if Johnson and Hampton both run well, I think you could have three running backs taken in the first round this year. Because I think if any of those guys stay under a 4-5, I don't think they last throughout the first round. So we talked about with the Cowboys having a mock draft, hopefully the receivers fall to them. And then there's been a couple of mock drafts I saw where it's very popular for the Cowboys to take Ashton Genty. I'm starting to think more and more that Ashton's not making it to the Cowboys at 12. But I also think the way Hampton and the way Johnson are going to test, even though they're going to test well and might make it into the first round, I think they might be too rich for the Cowboys at 12. So when it comes to first round running back, I'm unsure that the Cowboys are going to come out of that first round with a running back. I'm starting to think more and more as I go down and watch some of these other positions, whether it be guard, whether it be defensive tackle, whether it be edge. I think those three would be my leading candidates. Dark horse, maybe a corner. Maybe that's the next position. I'll go, watch the top few and break down and see if any of those guys can make it to the Cowboys at 12. But that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you so much for tuning in. You can hit me on Twitter at JMillIYL. That's J Miller if you like. You can also hit me up at knockersonthebottom at email.com. Gmail.com, not email.com. Again, knockersonthebottom at gmail.com or knockersonthebottom at outlook.com. You can leave comments below if there's anything specific that you want me to cover. Any questions that you have, I'll take them here. I'll take them via email, take them via Twitter, roll them to a mailbag, make it a formal segment. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. This way, when we get to 100, we can do another giveaway. But stay tuned. I'll be here covering the combine all week. Certain things start to come out. The workouts actually physically start on Thursday. So a lot of the stuff we'll hear early is possible rule changes that people are thinking about. We got news today that Matthew Stafford has been allowed to seek out a trade and a additional contract. We've been hearing Deebo Samuel's on the market. We've been hearing, that Devontae Adams is on the market. So just news like that coming out. We'll be getting it all week, and I'll make sure to keep you up to speed, especially since all these things we're in open season now. So until something's done, all of these moves could be Cowboys moves, or none of these moves could be Cowboys moves. But we'll be here to figure it out together. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Like I said, I'm your host, J Miller if you like. This has been Knockers on the Bottom. Until next time, peace.